Heading into my first NHL draft, I was the number one ranked goalie in the whole draft. 3 years later, the NHL passed me over 3 times. I never did get drafted. So here's the story of how it shaped me and who I am today and how I coach people today. So I'll go in quick sections here. I played my first year in the BC Hockey League at 15 years old, which was very, very rare. Um, and things went really well, really quick. My first year was good. Second year was great in Kelowna, and that year I got uh, first I got picked for the U17 team, and then after that hockey season, I got picked for the U18 team Canada. And after that was done, the rankings came out, and that's when I was ranked the top goalie in the draft. I remember at that time, especially during the U18 training camp, and all of the stars, well, they weren't stars yet, but there were big names, Trevor Linden, who was a friend, um, Stu Barnes, who is actually a close friend to this day. And oh, geez, there were so many others. And I remember the chatter in the dressing room during camp before the team was made, all the players that were there, all the great players that were there. And, kids don't have a lot of humility at that age, me being one of them. And they were all talking about where they were going to get drafted and all this stuff. And I, I remember that part, I wasn't being super boastful. Um, I maybe puffed my chest out a little bit, but it was definitely building this sense of who I was, and this confidence. And then it went beyond that. The next stage is my 17-year-old year. I decide not to go the college route, and I signed with the New Westminster Bruins in the WHL. And my name's plastered all over the place. I'm this phenom, supposed to be. So, I get treated really well at the beginning. Like, I go in there and I think I'm going to be the guy. Little did I know, there's a 20-year-old there. And at the time, I didn't think much of it. I just thought, I'm the guy. And it quickly shifted. Um, and I didn't have anybody like, say, myself and what I do today to talk to me. So I was very confused and angry and bitter, and that I wasn't playing all the games. And things quickly took a turn. It was like this, my play, and did not handle it well. And then we would look quite often back then there's no internet, so it was like we would look at the hockey news, and the rankings would come up. And slowly but surely, I went from the top goalie in the whole draft to the top goalie in the WHL, because they would split it up. And then it went down to number two, and then number three. And I can't remember if it went down past that, but I wasn't the top ranked goalie anymore. And rumblings in the media, and people would be saying, he's too small. That's it. It was going to catch up to him sooner or later. His skill and talent, I think it's caught up to him as far as his size is concerned. And one quick mention, and this isn't to be boastful, this whole video is to show you, what can happen when you don't have the right mindset towards things, and some help with that. Um, at that time in New West, Oli Kolzig was in camp with me, but then they sent him to the BC Hockey League to get games in, and I stayed up in the WHL. So he was below me, if you will, and just that's a story for another day. I'm so proud of him. He's a friend of mine, and he goes on to be a Vesna winner. Our paths go very different ways. The next stage is I get traded in the off season because Oli's coming up, and they punt me. I get traded to Lethbridge, and I get traded to a team that has a all-star goalie from the previous year. And first of all, I'm not happy I'm getting traded to the Eastern Division in the freezing cold, and just my career just seems like it's on a spiral. But one thing I will say, I didn't have a lot of things in line mentally, but one thing I did have and built, especially through all of these things that I went through, was a resilience. And I went there with a bit of a chip, and it didn't take long for me to earn the number one spot there. That all-star goalie, who's a great guy and great goalie, they traded him to Spokane, and I became the goalie. And in that Spokane trade, I got a backup, and his name is Jamie McLennan, who is a 15-year NHL veteran. And that's a whole other story on Ole and Jamie, on how they conducted themselves, and me looking back and seeing just very, very in awe of how they handled themselves. And I use it to this day in my coaching, and using them as examples of how to go about your business in junior. They were prime models for the way to handle it. I wasn't. So after that season, it's an okay season. I play a lot of games. I don't get drafted again, though. I don't want to say I was labeled by that time, but now you got an uphill battle for sure. But I did trend in the right direction. I was getting myself back to who I was. And then that leads us into my third year in Lethbridge. And sorry, my second year in Lethbridge, my third year in the WHL. And I have a career year. The team has a career year. It's great all around. I make the All-Star game with Trevor Kidd, and then I make the second All-Star team. I have the top stats in the WHL and the top goalie in the league statistically. And we go to the WHL final. Like, everything falls into place. I worked hard for it, but like, things were going back to where I was. And I'm riding high. I'm feeling great. I'm being considered for World Junior, all that stuff. We lose out in the WHL final. I finish off great. And that draft is in Vancouver. And I don't know what it was, but man, I had a bad feeling, as good as I felt that my year went. And my dad said he was going to the draft, and I think it was at BC Place or somewhere like that. And I said, no, I'm not going. Just call me maybe when you find out. And the rounds kept going, and nothing. And then my dad called me, and he said I didn't get drafted. I went through all 12 rounds. And then another buddy of mine, who I ended up playing with in pro, Corey Schwab, unbelievable goalie, hard worker. That year, he was just the backup in Seattle. And he got drafted, I think, in the 9th round. And which, totally deserving. And I was so happy for him. But I was a top goalie in the league, and I didn't get drafted. So things were really bleak. And I'm not telling you this story to make you feel sorry for me or anything. It's more about how I handled it. The ups and downs, some good, some bad. My resilience was good. The other stuff, not so good. So the moral of this story, and what I'm trying to convey here, is there is such a thing as really working on your mindset and knowing how to manage yourself at a younger age, because it does make a difference. I was really fortunate, and I'm not complaining about how things happen. I take full responsibility for it. It actually led me to a great place. And where I am today and what I am doing now, I love what I do. I got to have a 15-year pro career. I got to go over to Japan and find my heritage and play there, and play in the Nagano 98 Olympics. I played in 3 world championships. I did a lot of really great things. My kids got to experience a whole different way of life. So I'm very grateful, and life takes you down different paths. So I'm not complaining about how I went undrafted. I'm just trying to shed light on how managing yourself is so important. It's not just about your skills, man. The whole thing has taught me so much, my career, so much. It took a long time, and that's, I guess, where I come in now. I really want to help people at a younger age. I help NHL guys, but and I love that. But I really get inspiration and motivation to help people at a younger age. Here's the part that really matters when it comes to this channel that I'm trying to build. When a 12-year-old boy comes to me and he's down about being shrugged off because of his size or because he's inconsistent or all of these different things, and you get passed off one time, two times, three times, I want to be that person to help shed some light on this, on that you can overcome these things and you can use it to help build you and make you stronger and not become a victim in all of this. Because truthfully, I've been through all of it, not just 3 times. This went on multiple times throughout my career. But through all of the things that I did poorly, I did develop a resilience, and I'm just trying to teach that in a more healthy way now than when I did it as a kid and through my young adult years. So if you've ever felt overlooked, or if you're watching your kid get passed over time and time again, this channel's for you. So don't forget to subscribe, and we'll talk to you soon, man. You guys have a good one. Peace.